Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Adnastana. Pleasure to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio and continuing our journey of light and knowledge. This is yet another one of those topical segments of Points of Light Radio where we are going to be discussing, as part of our growth series, the length of our meetings. Now, as you always know, many of these segments have their genesis, shall we say, in my personal experience with fraternalism. Not long ago, I visited a lodge for a meeting which was delayed because they had another meeting in that building, which had carried on a little longer than it should have, because they hadn't met the month before, and they had some, as they put it, unfinished business. I still don't understand that, but I was also told that the meetings for that particular lodge were always 2.5 hours long. Okay. Right? Well, I attended another meeting at the same lodge a month later, and I discovered why their meetings were always also long. And that's all I'll say about that. But, right, like I said, let's break this down a little bit. How long should our meetings be? What's reasonable about that? And, right, and what do we hold these meetings for? Should a degree ceremony, a meeting for degrees, should degrees and business be kept separate, and so on? Let's talk about this, right? And as usual, you're going to see various different guests appear here on the segment today, and we'll try to come to some sort of a consensus here about our business meetings, and maybe learn how we can properly format them, right? So let's move forward, brothers and sisters. I'm going to enjoy this, continue to enjoy this delicious Bloodline cigar and this French press coffee I have over here. So let's go forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Our first guest is someone you've never met before, and it's part of an interview I did with him earlier that I promise I will bring you. His name is Juan Staplavita. Now, he's a Freemason and the host of the Winding Stairs podcast. I love interviewing podcasters. But you've also touched on certain things here, for instance, these business meetings. Now, one of the problems that I have seen in some lodges is their meetings are just very long, to put it mildly. Mm-hmm. And I think in this day and age, when people are you really have to know how to cut your time up. You can't afford to go in there and sit around for 2.5 hours talking in a bit, especially if it's just a business meeting, or for that matter, where some people try to combine a degree ceremony with a business meeting. Hey man, let's just do one or the other. No one's sitting down saying that. But I think you'll agree, the length of the meetings, we do have to keep them realistic in this day and age.
Yeah. And to be honest, if the meeting is really good, the length of time that you're in it is not as critical. The problem really arises when you feel trapped in something that feels unproductive, right?
Been there.
It's it's despeраting. But now, one thing that some lodges would do is that they'll switch and they'll have one meeting a month strictly for business, one another meeting that is strictly for education and fellowship and that sort of thing. That works. It's really going to depend on the culture of the lodge. It's going to depend on the jurisdiction. But I know of lodges that do that, and they really feel that they're getting a great value out of the meeting. Another thing is being a good steward of the time. It's not like we're surprised with elements of the meeting. Like meetings are structured very similar from one lodge to the other.
Yeah.
So part of the problem will become when you don't adhere to the rules, or perhaps a conversation goes a little too long without someone holding the reins again and steering it in the right direction, or tabling the
Masters put that
decision.
gavel down. Yeah, I agree with you.
Exactly. And many times a committee, just setting a committee. We notice, oh, I thought this was going to be a 5-minute conversation. It seems like the membership, right? Seems like they're very excited about this topic. Okay, I believe now it will be prudent for us to establish a committee. So it seems like there's a lot of options.
Or knowing when to keep it, like prime example, I was in one meeting where they passed out a paper with some new business on it. And instead of saying, we're going to be meeting for lunch after this, any questions you have, ask them during the lunch. Any questions over and above, let's take them up at next month's meeting. Let's move on. We had just done a degree. There's no need to introduce new business to this. Let's tie it up, celebrate the degree, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at least what state are you in?
Huh? Alberta.
You're in Alberta.
I'm in
Okay.
Canada, so yeah.
Yeah. The most of the lodges that I've been to, it is the norm that if there is some sort of ritual, that the majority of the business is just waived until the next time. Sometimes it helps if you actually make your degrees on a day that is not your stated meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Having it on a Saturday, and it's just, this is what it is, and that's it.
You may recall Sir Knight Nathaniel Clayton. He's a member of the Memento World Black Preceptory in 975 in Innisfil, Alberta. And how long are your meetings?
Usually, I'd say about an hour. It depends. Last time I went, it was about an hour. It went by pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, it's true. Now, this next guest, you saw him here on Points of Light Radio. He's a regular contributor, and his name is Darren Rose. He's the Grand Master General and Grand Hierophant of the Egyptian Masonic Order in the United Kingdom. He's also a Masonic book author. Love having this guy on here.
The meetings at the Egyptian Masonic Order, they average out about 3 hours. It started out being 3 hours because some of the places that we work, we hire, so there's a sort of constriction on time, but that's worked out to be quite good for our discipline. Our rituals, especially our initiations, go on for about 3 hours, and then after that we dine. We do try to extend and include time for lectures and people to share things about their experiences. And certainly at our festive boards, we always have the most exciting discussions about the rituals and about the symbolism, which helps people in their progress. It's always a lively after meeting festive board as well. Lots of laughter, lots of jokes, lots of bonding, and I love seeing that. That's one of the other reasons why I enjoy the Egyptian Masonic Order so much, is because the social element is actually much more entertaining than I would previously have assumed it would be.
Let's go talk to Casey Pemberton. Now, you may recall him. He's the Grand Chancellor of the Domain of Missouri and Kansas and Chancellor Commander of the Manitou Lodge number 446 and the Vice President of the 4th District, Knights of Pythias. So how long are your Knights of Pythias meetings?
We generally meet, depends on if we're doing rank work or not. Knowing this, rank work is similar to degree work for Masons. Yeah. So depending on if we're doing that or not, if we have no rank work, we're a young lodge. We don't have a lot of things that we're doing at the moment or that we've been doing. So we can get out in 30 minutes to an hour, not including opening.
Now, there again, this guest is somebody you've never met before. His name is Demetrius Feaster, and he is with the Grand United Order of Odd Fellows. He's the current District Grand Master and Deputy District Grand Master in the state of Georgia. He's also the current Noble Grand and Vice Grand. But
that's funny.
When does your lodge meet, and how long are the meetings usually?
So, all right. So this is a new era. I love when people ask me this. This is the new era of fraternalism. So we meet every single week on Zoom.
Wow.
Every single week on Zoom, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And then we get off at 9. I usually keep the hours around in there, and I usually talk. And what's happening with that is that has developed a camaraderie with all the people who want to practice odd fellowship. And I also am able to weed out the brothers who just join it to be in it.
Yeah.
So, because we need workers. So what we usually meet one time a month, and here recently we only meet when like in a traditional lodge setting, when we're making odd fellows, when we're doing the initiation, then we'll do all of that, and then we have a place where we meet that's pretty cheap. But for the most part, we don't have to do that because we meet every week.
You may recall Klaus J. Kike from the Red Lodge segment that you saw here on Points of Light Radio. Mr. Kike is the past master and secretary of the Germania Lodge number 46 in New Orleans, Louisiana. So how long are these Red Lodge meetings?
Grand Lodge meetings usually, we usually have committees 2 days prior to, and then the Grand Lodge in session usually lasts 2 days, yes.
Now, you saw Wilbert Lemuel on here numerous times. Today he's on here discussing the length of the meetings in his Elks Lodge. Love having this brother on here. Well, but you say, just shifting gears a little, you said you were in the Elks Lodge.
Yeah.
How long are your meetings usually within the Elks Lodge?
Elks Lodge meetings, it can vary, but they usually last within an hour. Good. More or less for the most part. They don't tend to go too long because a lot of members are tempted to go to the bar afterwards. So
that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, every Elks Lodge has a bar, so you'll definitely find your members who are at the bar, which is usually full on any given night the lodge meets, but a much smaller number will actually go back to join the actual lodge meeting. So, but they don't last. They don't tend to last too long for the Elks.
And finally, let's go talk to David Shear. He needs no introduction. He is the secretary of the Peninsula Lodge 128 Independent Order of Oddfellows. He's also the elective secretary of the Northern Star Lodge 715 Grand United Order of Oddfellows. Let's see what he has to say.
At Peninsula, the average meeting is about an hour. I'm not really sure how long they are at most Oddfellows lodges, but it's pretty common, pretty consistent that our lodge meetings are just about an hour, unless we are doing something special like a meeting plus degree, or a meeting where we are doing nomination of officers or installation of officers. In that case, usually it would be about 2 hours.
So let's sum up, brothers and sisters. You saw a number of different guests from various different fraternal bodies. Contributing to this topical segment. Right, so let's take a look at what they've said here. Mr. Suplavita says that if business meetings are kept topical and interesting, they don't feel as long. And I tend to agree with that. I've been in longer meetings. As long as a lot of good ground is covered, right? And there's a certain flow to it. Yeah, you can, a business meeting, it won't feel very long, right? Brother Pemberton agrees that 30 minutes to a 1 hour for a business meeting in the Knights of Pythias, his particular lodge, is the norm. But there again, he says they're a young lodge, so that could make the difference right there. Mr. Shear says in his lodge, Peninsula Lodge, Oddfellows Lodge, 1 hour for a business meeting is the norm. If they combine business with the degree work, it can take 2 hours. A well-run degree, yeah. Right. In Odd Fellowship, yes, that would take about 1 hour, properly run degree, right? So, yeah, I mean, but Mr. Rose, on the other hand, now he belongs to a highly esoteric, the Egyptian Masonic order. So, I mean, he says it all depends on what they're doing that day in the lodge, and of course, where they're meeting, because by the sounds of things, they don't have their own building. So yes, that's gonna, that will be, will definitely, you will have to, be out of there at a certain time. On the other hand, he says their members seem to be very comfortable with longer meetings, and that's understandable. And that's, as long as everybody's understanding of it, that's great, right? I will say this, based on my personal experience within fraternalism, it is very important for the worshipful master, or whoever your, the title is for the leader of the lodge or the club, whatever it is you're meeting at. It's very important for them to really control the floor, right? Everybody should be allowed to have input. In other words, get up and have your say on any topic of business one time, not multiple times. I saw that go on, right? You can't do that. The other thing is to stay focused. Some of my guests today agreed that you really shouldn't, if you can possibly do it, mix degrees with business meetings, right? And in the event that you do, don't start introducing a whole bunch of new business after you do a degree. It's going to take a little longer, right? I will say this as well. Members, they need to understand, let's get our business dealt with in a timely manner. We should not look down on members who have to retire from the lodge a little bit early, right? If they have to, because let's face it, brothers or sisters may have a long commute or personal or family functions to attend when the meeting is over, right? We have to remember that. We have to be understanding, right? Right? As the Bible says, let all things be done decently and in order, right? And we'll just leave it at that. I want to thank all those that you saw today who contributed to this segment. I want to thank them for their input. I want to thank you for your time. And I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. I want to see some input on some of them, a lot more input than I'm seeing lately. Okay, especially something like this. I'm sure anybody who sits through a lodge is going to have something to say about meeting length. Let's be honest, right? I also want to draw your attention to the PayPal link. You can hit on that, make a voluntary donation to Points of Light Radio. We will use that to move the podcast forward, Points of Light Radio. The content you see is not sponsor driven. I want to draw your attention to my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. Go there, like that page, I might say. My X handle is at PO Light Radio. My Bluesky handle is at polighteradio.bsky.social. You can see the link to my Spotify channel, as well as my Points of Light Radio store in the details section. Brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure fellowshipping with you and my guest today. Until we meet again, just step into the light.